What is up, YouTube? It's Kingfisher745, and this is going to be a preview of the special Adamantium process episode. But truthfully, you could call this a part 1. In this video, we're going to go over all the items and gadgets, as well as the uniform that we're going to be using. We're going to briefly discuss a lot of the items that are out there in the missions currently. So first, we're going to take a look at the armors that are on sale. And when you look, there are gold versions, but there are also versions that just cost silver and shield points. I would recommend going with a generalist armor. So we're going to take a look at this generalist armor right here, and it happens to have 6 slots, which is pretty good. Now it's not as good as 8, but you're not spending any gold to get this item. So what we're going to do is we're going to purchase it, and then we're going to socket it. Now when it comes time to gem or socket a uniform for your agent, you have to decide, what are you using your agent for? Is he going to be a tank and possibly use a protect weapon? Is he going to be mainly a damage dealer? Or is he just going to be a support character? Then you can either decide which stats are most important to you. Often I use stalwart, and that is health, attack, and defense. And those are 3 very good stats for PvP. Another option is to do what I've done here, and that's to go ahead and max all of your stats to 5 bars. So we have health, stamina, attack, defense, accuracy, and evasion all at 5 bars. And we accomplish this by using chaotic ISO. But there is the stalwart, and that is one of my favorite ISO by far. Health, attack, and defense are really important for PvP. You also want to make sure that you have accuracy, unless you're going to be using heroes or buffs that guarantee hits. This is why it's difficult to say exactly which ISO 8 to use. It really is situational. In a future video, I'll go ahead and talk more about ISO 8, how you should socket or gem your characters. But for this video, we're going to go ahead and leave our generalist have all 5 bar stats. Next, we're going to look through items, and I'm going to tell you briefly where you can find them, and discuss some of the best items. I don't know the drop location of every single item, so if you have any requests, go ahead and just ask me in the comment section below, and I'll find out for you. But we're just scrolling through some of the decent ones, and then we will stop on some of the more serious considerations for the video. Now this is called Snicked, and has a chance to perform a follow-up attack, causes bleeding ×2, and ravaged. So it's a pretty good weapon, and it drops in Chapter 4, Mission 6. It could be very useful if you're using it with a character like Wolverine on your team. Also, especially at lower levels, bleeding can be a really amazing debuff, because there's not that many options to remove it, and it's going to continue to tick every turn and after every attack. So it really cripples someone like Quicksilver. Next, we're going to take a look at Power of 4. And Power of 4 is dropped in Chapter 5, Mission 6. It starts cooldown, but once it comes off cooldown, when you use it, you get to take 4 extra turns. Now at the end of these turns, your agent will be killed. That's the only drawback, but hopefully by then you can finish off your opponent's team. This will be one of the gadgets that we're going to use. Next, there are these weapons that are called the golden weapons. You're given them when you 5-star every mission in a specific chapter. They level up with you up to a certain point. Right now I've actually outleveled all of mine, so I'm not going to be using them, but they're a really powerful option if you're within the level range. Many of them do absolutely amazing damage. Next we have the gadget Target Painter. It's good because it's a quick action, it's subtle, and it applies weak points, so the next attack is guaranteed to hit and crit. And you could use that with something like the Goblin Glider. Now this is just a regular version, and I had to get the custom version because this was almost 200 levels beneath my character. But as you can see, it does pretty good damage, it's stealthy, has deadly crits, and exploits flying, so it does extra damage to flyers. And there I'm just showing you that since it does extra damage on crits, if you guarantee that the next hit will be a crit, then you're going to get a really big hit off of it. Next, there is another golden weapon, and this one has a chance to perform a counterattack, and it goes up to level 70. So it's a pretty decent option as well. The handheld holorum is also a pretty good gadget. Since it hits everyone, has high crits, It's catastrophic, so it can't be avoided or protected against, and it does more damage as your agent's health becomes lower, so it could potentially do a lot of damage to an enemy team, especially at lower levels. This gadget really interests me. The only problem is its power level, so I'm not going to use it in my video, but if you're within the level range, you should probably consider at least trying it out. Next we have the Cosmic Ray Bomb. It hits all enemies and causes radiation exposure, so it's another pretty good option. And there are plenty of combinations for this right now. For example, Red Hulk exploits radiation exposure, so you may want to use something like that with him if you haven't. Now this gun, the Golden Screaming Eagle, is a really hard-hitting weapon, and it has high crits, so this is definitely something you may want to consider using if you're within that level range. I've personally seen it do major damage. Next we have the Destroyer Power Relic, and this is another pretty interesting weapon. It drops in Chapter 8, Mission 6, and it has high crits, deadly crits, and it's going to stun the enemy that you hit. So that could be very useful. If you're within this level range, this is another really good option. That stun is pretty nice, and a well-placed stun can win you a match, even against a superior opponent. Next we're going to look at one of my favorite items. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it a lot, and I used to use it all the time. That's the Dark Sigil. It hits all enemies, is a guaranteed hit, causes burning, dark void, and weak point. So this is a fantastic item, and I definitely recommend you get it. It can be found in Chapter 9, Mission 6. The scrolls and rescue have diminished its usage a little bit, but it's still insanely powerful, especially for all of those debuffs, including weak point. We're definitely going to use this item in the video. Now we're just sweeping over the golden items, and that's because, like I said, they're too low level, otherwise they would be a really good option. Next there's the Spitting Viper. It's another pretty good item, but it drops in Chapter 12, Mission 2, so you may not be up to that chapter. Now we're going to move on to the last two items, and these items are both going to be used in my setup. It took a lot of farming and a lot of running the missions to get them, so this was what was holding me back on making the special episode. First we have the Custom Goblin Glider. It does major damage, it's stealthy, it exploits flying, and has deadly crits. And like I said, I just outleveled the other one too much, so I had to go for the Custom Glider. But you should be fine with the other glider, as long as your level isn't too high. The glider can be found in Chapter 7, Mission 3, off of the Epic Boss. And last but not least, the Custom Magnetic Field Generator. Now you don't have to worry about getting the custom version. As far as I know, there's no major difference between the two. Only the type is different. This one's a buff type, and I think the other one is a specific type of buff. Either way, don't worry about that. The main reason we want this is because you cast it on all allies, so your entire team gets a shield, and then when that shield is broken, that character gains an extra move. Now that extra turn can be really valuable. It doesn't matter what level you are. Gaining an additional turn with any one of your characters can really help turn the tide of a battle. So now you've seen some of the powerful items and gadgets that you can get in current missions, and you know the setup that I'm going to use. That's the Goblin Glider, Dark Sigil, the Magnetic Field Generator, and Power of 4. I hope you're excited for that special episode. It's going to include the gameplay and the battles, and I hope you enjoyed this video.